Before we begin the video, if you haven't yet, come on down and join my Discord server. Link is down in the description. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for my final thoughts and review on Ninjago Season 13, Master of the Mountain. Now that we're done with episode reviews, as I do every season, I wanted to make an unscripted video where I discuss my full opinion. So yeah guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy my review of Ninjago Season 13. So I want to start with my overall thoughts on the season, and I don't think Master of the Mountain is just a good season, but actually a great season. You see, coming out of Prime Empire, I felt it was miles better than Season 11, but it was missing something. I really liked Season 12, and I felt it was a very good season. But ultimately, the ninja don't really change or develop, and it doesn't really leave an impact on Ninjago. It isn't very memorable. While Season 12 fixed the majority of issues from Season 11, there were still a few that remained. And I'd hoped that Master of the Mountain would fix those and give us a season more like Ninjago's older seasons. I'm happy to say I think Master of the Mountain was successful in doing so, and I think this is the best Ninjago season since Season 9. And for a few reasons. First of all, I feel the actual story is very fascinating, and the emphasis on backstory is great. Secondly, I love the Cole focus, and this and Season 8 are definitely his best seasons. If I had any issues, I would say the middle portion, episodes 5 to 9, are definitely weaker than the other episodes, but not bad at all. I'd just say they're Prime Empire level, whereas the rest of the season is more on the level of Skybound. Alright, so now let's go through the entire season, episode by episode. We'll discuss each character and plot point in depth when they come up. But yeah, let's get started with episode 1. Honestly, not the best premiere. It just wasn't that exciting, but it was a good episode, and I really enjoyed seeing Misako and the godly postman back. However, this episode also marks the start of Wu's arc of the season. I felt Wu wasn't amazing in this season, but he was really good. Wu basically feels like the ninja don't need a teacher anymore, but this season shows that maybe he's not needed as a teacher, but he still could be a father figure. I feel it's a fairly good case as for why Wu is still relevant and should remain in the series, and I really enjoyed his interactions with Cole. After Wu was barely present in Prime Empire, I feel it was good this season gave him a bigger role, and I mostly enjoyed him and felt he was well written. Anyways, episode 2 is exciting in all the ways episode 1 wasn't, and I felt he was really amazing, and we're introduced to Vanya on this. Princess Vanya was this season's ally character, and I feel she was pretty good. I feel she could be a bit annoying at times, but usually no, and as the season progresses, she definitely improves. I really enjoyed her interactions with Cole, and thankfully this season doesn't try to force or imply any sort of romance. I would love to see Vanya return in the future, and I really enjoyed her. Anyways, that's for episode 3, a pretty good episode, but not the best. Episode 4, though, was amazing. I really enjoyed this season's backstory. I felt it was all very interesting, and the one in episode 4, the animation is simple, nice, but clean as well, combined with a good story to make for a great scene. Season 4, Season 11, and this season, these are the only 3 seasons to explore a past concept rather than making everything 100% new. Obviously, most of Season 13's backstory is new, Shintaro, the months, the geckos, but what isn't new, the central figure of this story is none other than Cole's mother. We need more stories like this, stories that don't just introduce new stuff, but also mix in some of the old. I also like that how Season 11 should have been. This season has 2 warring tribes, the months and geckos, and both are opposed to the Skull Sorcerer. For these reasons though, I felt this season had really good lore. Episode 5, however, I just don't like. It's really weird, and the story doesn't work in 11 minutes. Murtessa starts out as a really annoying character in this episode, but she definitely gets better to the point where I'd say she ends up as a decent character. As for Nia in this season, she's alright. She basically continues to be the irritable yet loving Nia we've really seen since Skybound. It isn't a terrible thing, but I think in general she could stand to be slightly less annoying. As for Zayn this season, he doesn't do too much, but that's okay because he just had Prime Empire. I felt Jay was also just alright in this season. To be honest, in episode 5, he kind of bugged me. He just seemed really dumb, completely separated from reality, and this is not the Jay we saw in Skybound. I mean, I don't think Jay was awful in this season, but he really wasn't that amazing either. Him and Nia, I feel, were alright, not terrible, but not really amazing either. As for Lloyd though, this may be his smallest role in the entire series yet, and this came as a huge relief after seasons 8 to 11. 4 consecutive seasons that focus on Lloyd way too much, and at the expense of other characters. Season 12 did dial it back a bit, but not nearly as much as I would have hoped. And in this season, I feel Lloyd was actually pretty good. And in the scenes he was present in, Lloyd was pretty good. And funny sometimes as well. As for his trust issues with Vanya, I see people complaining that it should have been fleshed out more or had more screen time, and I completely understand the reasoning behind that. After all, Lloyd's story in the season really only serves a purpose for a comic relief scene in episode 2, and really to draw that parallel to season 8, but other than that, I wouldn't even call it a story. I am, though, happy with the way it turned out because I don't want to see more of Lloyd's trust issues. We've had 4+ seasons of it, and it's time to move on to new things. Also, if it was fleshed out more, it would have felt way too similar to Akita. Overall, Lloyd was good in this season, and I was very glad to see him take a backseat. Now, let's talk about episode 6 and Kai and Zayn in this season. Episode 6 was a weaker episode, but still decent anyways. Now, as for Kai in this season, I felt this was actually Kai's strongest season since Hands of Time. The post-movie seasons have not been good with Kai's character. In season 8, he felt cringe and selfish. Season 11, dumbed down and childish. Not in season 13. Kai, for a change, actually feels funny in this season, and noticeably less babyish, and I would even say more mature. What Kai's missing in this season is character growth or an arc, but that's okay because this isn't really a season. And actually, one more thing, let's discuss this season's humor, because I actually feel this is Ninjago's funniest season since Skybound. I love the Oni trilogy, but not because of its humor, and let's not even talk about season 11's humor. Master of the Mountain was a funny season, and I think this season's funniest scene was the slug race in episode 11. Zayn not understanding basic human terms continues to be funny even 5 seasons later. And yeah, let's talk about Zayn this season. I basically feel the same about him as I felt about Kai. In the Fire chapter and most of season 12, Zayn really felt like he didn't have any personality or charm, and this season fixes that. I really enjoyed Zayn's relationship with Kai this season, and the whole rock throwing thing was pretty hilarious. Episodes 7 and 8 were good, and episode 9, the animation was not very good, but we do get to meet the Upleys, so let's discuss them. I don't think the 3 Upley are the best characters, but I feel they're all diverse, and they're definitely good characters and very welcome additions to the cast. Sometimes, yeah, they can be kind of annoying, and I don't like the talking acts at all, but they add fun and charm to the season, and I'm glad they were added. I enjoy their buddy relationship with both each other and Cole. And as for episode 10, let's talk about Cole's mother, Lily, because I am really impressed with the way they wrote her, and I would not have changed a single thing myself. The biggest success here was that she died of natural causes. Unless I forgot someone, the only other character to die like this was Dr. Julian. This is realistic, and I'm sure many viewers have been through this. And can we really say that about any other Ninjago death? I'm really glad that this turned out to be original, and not just Rei and Maya 2.0. At the same time though, I really loved her connection to Shintaro and the backstory they gave her there. And this was perfect. They kept a simple death for her, but gave her backstory. I was worried that any exploration into Cole's mother would give her some kind of dramatic death, but this season doesn't, and what it does do is perfect. Moving on to episode 11, I did definitely enjoy Griefbringer, and I liked its connection to the backstory, and in skeleton form, it's pretty awesome looking. I also want to discuss this season's main villains, the Awakened Warriors. I don't really feel too fond of these guys. They're basically just better versions of the Pyro Vipers. These guys are not as good as the Blizzard Samurai or Red Visors, and I mean, they look awesome, but they're just kind of bland, and there really isn't more than that. We also have the Mountain Geckos, and I love that we got the 2 warring tribes thing in this season, but one of these tribes is better. The Monts kind of started out stereotypical and dumb, but definitely improved. However, they don't really have any defining qualities. The Geckos, on the other hand, were just always better to begin with. Chancellor Gulch was a good character, and the Slug Race, just awesome. Overall, these guys were definitely funnier. Episode 12 introduces Spinjitsu Burst, and I have mixed feelings on it. On the one hand, it just isn't really explained well enough, and it's a bit convenient that there is an Earth-only form of Spinjitsu. I also feel like it doesn't really play a prominent enough role in this season, and I wish the other ninja learned it as well, and they still can in future seasons, which would be great, but let's face it, I don't really see it happening. On the other hand though, expanding Spinjitsu and giving it more variance is always a good thing. Anyways though, episode 13 was really good, and 14 was pretty good as well. 15 though was an amazing episode, and I want to talk about the Skull Sorcerer now. The Skull Sorcerer, or Vangelis, is not the most interesting character ever, and not the best villain either, but I still feel he's pretty good as a villain. His design is awesome, his voice is really good, and yeah, he may just be an average power-hungry dude, but his motives are very interesting. His motives are entirely economic, and this is a great taste of the real world. It's just that his methods are very morally wrong and totally unethical. And what I love about the Skull Sorcerer is, unlike Unagami, he's a pure evil villain, and one of the series' most evil villains yet. He enslaves people and even almost executes the ninja. This is exactly the kind of villain Master of the Mountain needed, a pure evil villain with no redeemable qualities. And his conclusion was a bit underwhelming, but hey, at least he didn't turn good. And the Vangelis twist was decent, would have preferred Klaus, but let's just hope he's the buyer. Oh, and right, there's also the buyer, let's discuss that. So in episode 7, Vangelis mentions that he has a customer buying his veg stone. Tommy Draces said the buyer's identity is a spoiler, which seems to mean whoever this guy is will likely be the next Ninjago villain. Finally, at last, cliffhangers are back in Ninjago, and we haven't had anything like this since season 9. This isn't a super big or super obvious cliffhanger, but it is something that is definitely going to be significant. And this definitely makes the off-season a bit more fun, and we have 6 months or so to speculate about who this buyer is. Connection between Ninjago seasons will definitely improve Ninjago as a whole, I believe. Anyways, this season's finale was awesome, and it wasn't nearly as rushed as the last 3 finales. And we also have the Blades of Deliverance. I feel they were very unique artifacts, and yeah, they kind of did steal a page from season 9, but that's okay. In most Ninjago seasons, the artifacts are usually part of a plan, usually by the villain, some evil plot, but not in this season. They are in the finale, but their main function is in the backstory. And I think that was a really interesting and successful approach, as well as them getting destroyed. And the last thing I want to discuss today is Cole. I saved the best for last. This is his first ever focus season, and it still feels a bit unreal that it's finally happened after years of asking. And I'm happy to say it was definitely successful, and it gave him a lot of spotlight, and this and season 8 are definitely his best seasons. Cole has never been a bad character, he's always been good, but he just hasn't had enough screen time or focus, and Day of the Departed kinda sucked. This season doesn't drastically change Cole, but it reminds us why we love him and what makes Cole Cole. I think this season had some amazing emotional moments for him, and what really mattered is he finally had a season and he had a lot of spotlight. In the end, I'm gonna give this season a 9 out of 10. I felt Master of the Mountain was an excellently done Ninjago season. This season kept the successes Prime Empire had, but also fixed the flaws it had, which is a big success. It's awesome to see Ninjago slowly returning to how it was before, with darker storytelling and more intense storytelling, and from what I've heard and from what Tommy Drayson has said, 2021 is gonna be really a fun ride. But that's about all for my review, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone and everyone you know. I hope you guys enjoyed my review, and leave a comment explaining your thoughts on Season 13, and I'll see you next time.